Welcome to iPad Pros, the show all about using your iPad to be productive and get work done. I'm Tim Chen, host of the show.
Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of iPad Pros. In this episode, we are joined by Joe Kissel of the Take Control books. He recently released the DEVONthink 4 book, which includes DEVONthink to Go 4, which that recently came out for iPad and iPhone. And in this episode, we have a just free-ranging discussion about all things DEVONthink, which we have both used since versions 1 and 2. I remember using this back in college, back in 2006, so I have been a long-time DEVONthink user, so it was fun to just dive into this app and discuss what's new with 4 and discuss a bit on how far the iPad app has come and where the Mac still has a role for DEVONthink. So I hope you enjoyed this upcoming discussion with Joe Kissel. You can download this book, Take Control of DEVONthink 4 for free on Take Control's website at takecontrolbooks.com/DEVONthink-4. They worked in partnership with DEVONthink to make this available to everyone. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. With that, here's my discussion with Joe. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Joe.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have this discussion. I'm a long-time DEVONthink user, kind of on and off over the years, but in college, which is 2006 onwards for me, I got into it.
You're just a kid.
I'm just a kid. This is DEVONthink 1 and 2 era. I got Pro Office back in the day, and I remember ripping up my textbooks and digitizing them and throwing them in the DEVONthink, which was a fun thing to do at the time. How far back do you go with DEVONthink?
Oh gosh. Same. I mean, from almost the very beginning. I'm sure that if I looked through like my email and my records, I could find like a date, but it was definitely like very, very early. And I've written a series of books now. I did a book on DEVONthink 2 and a book on DEVONthink 3 and a book on DEVONthink 4. So the first book was about DEVONthink 2. But I was already familiar with it before the book came up, and my first introduction to using DEVONthink was like I had to get rid of all this paper, and so
Yes.
kind of similar to what you were talking about. And so I decided let's crack this whole paperless office thing. I mean, nowadays, like it's still a thing. I still have a really nice document scanner over there and flatbed scanner over there, and I still do scan tons of. There you go.
I'm holding a Brother scanner, and I got this scanner because it can scan directly to a USB thumb drive, so it's more iPad friendly in that way, where you can just hook up the thumb drive then to your iPad to import if you need to.
Back in those days, OCR was still kind of a novelty.
Very much so.
It's not like today where you scan or even take a picture of a document and then you can just immediately select and copy text and there's no other step. Like it's not like that. It wasn't like that back then.
No, Evernote was a big deal because of that ability of just searching text and it would kind of find the text for you. But back then, you had the OCR every document you scanned in, and that was a time-intensive process, and it wasn't free. It was like a thing. You had to pay.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there were and still are lots of different OCR apps you could buy. And to be fair, to this day, a good OCR app will do stuff that just scanning and letting, photos or preview or whatever do its thing does not do. I mean, that doesn't add an actual text layer to the document and so forth. But this idea that I could push a button, like put a stack of papers in my scanner, push a button, and then a couple of minutes later, they just show up in DEVONthink and they're searchable, and I can manipulate these files any way I want. And I can file them and organize them and do like 100 other things with these files. That was revolutionary to me. So like I wrote the book on DEVONthink. I also wrote a separate book on the paperless office because that just seemed magical. And again, we're talking about kind of a previous era of technology in life, but being able to go through a filing cabinet and take I'm for, you can see other people are just listening. I'm holding up my hands like I caught a fish and it was this big. And then I scanned all that stuff. And then the papers I was left with were just a little folder full kind of. There's some papers you can't get rid of course. So that was kind of my entree to DEVONthink, was just making searchable PDFs of everything. And then as time went on, I'm like, oh, it can do this too. Oh, it can do that too. Holy crap, it can do almost everything. Like it, like they won't stop adding features. I mean, we'll talk about this as I talk about it's an information management app or something. It's a snippet keeper. Okay, sure, those are kind of true. And yeah, it does the OCR, but it can create and annotate and manipulate documents of all sorts: PDF, Markdown, rich text, plain text, you name it. It can sync your stuff all kinds of different ways. It can grab things from anywhere. It can, you're looking at a web page, you can suck that into DEVONthink. Your email message, suck that into DEVONthink. Anything, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, is like, I think I would like that too. And there's like a million ways you can get stuff into it. And again, looking back, 10, 15 years, whatever, it had these AI features, and that was before AI was like a thing,
Yeah.
It's not like today, not like we think of AI nowadays, but it would do simple things like, well, I filed all these different documents in different folders, and now I've got a new document. And it'd be like, hey, would you like me to put it in the right folder? I'm like, well, sure, you can try. And then it would just do it. I'm like, how did it know? Because it looked at the other documents in these various folders and like, well, the one you've just given me is most similar to this. And so things like, I mean, that's just an example, one of many, but things like that, where it was just a labor-saving tool. I didn't have to do this stuff manually. It would just do it for me. Was really amazing. So back in Golly, I don't remember, the early 2000s. At some point, I was on vacation in Germany, and I met Eric Bonish, the probably saying his name wrong, but the CEO of Devon Technologies, and we had drinks together, and I'm like a really, really long time user and a long time fan. So I'll be happy to chat about this for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will have an introduction before our actual conversation here, but you wrote the book, as you said, Take Control books on DEVONthink 4 and prior versions of DEVONthink.
Yeah.
Your profession is is an author, and you write other books, and right?
That's not wrong.
Okay.
So I have written over 75 books. So it is fair to call me an author. So for a stretch of time, Take Control Books, which was previously part of Tidbits, run by Adam and Tanya Angst.
Yeah.
For a stretch of time, they were publishing most of my books, and I had kind of gotten to the point where I was like, I've been writing a lot of these Take Control books, and I think I want to do something else. And so I told, this was back in like 2016. I told, oh my God, 10 years ago. So I told
Right.
Adam and Tanya, I think maybe I'll just finish up the updates I'm working on now and then go off and do some other things. And they're like, okay, well, I mean, that's fine if you want to do that. Or what if you were just to buy the business from us and instead of doing it not at all, have this be the only thing you do? And for some reason, logic just broke down, and I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. I will make this my new full-time job. So I bought the business, bought the ebook publishing business, Take Control Books, And so I've been running it since May of 2017.
Okay. Yep.
Which means to say that I am now more publisher than author.
Yeah.
So I still do all the things that a publisher does. I do editing, I do production, I do marketing, I do, finances and royalties, and I do all the things, maintain the website. But I also do still write some books, time permitting.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer the main thing that I do, but it is one of the things that I do. And so
Yeah.
so I am an author. I'm also a publisher, and I'm a dad.
Yes. That is time consuming.
Very busy job, and gardener, and I teach Tai Chi and all kinds of stuff. So
nice. Yeah, I had not. I probably remembered that you did take over Take Control books at some point, but it's been said 10 years. That's yeah.
Yeah. So it was.
Did Adam and Tanya retire? Are they? I don't even know what they're doing these days.
Well, yeah. Okay. So Tanya decided she was just kind of done with this world.
Yeah.
And she took a job at Cornell. So they live in Ithaca, close to Cornell University, where they both graduated. And so she's still doing sort of editing and publishing type of work there.
Yeah.
But it's of a completely different sort from what she was doing with Take Control Books. And somebody's just paying her to do this rather than her being
the stress of running it. Yes.
That's
business,
right.
Yeah.
Adam is still running Tidbits. And as far as I am aware, still loving it. He does Tidbits, like, the website, the newsletter, all that stuff. But then he also runs something he calls the Tidbits Content Network, which is where he writes articles that it's a sort of white label article service for Apple consultants. So if Apple consultants want to pass along the latest Apple news to their clients, customers, they can get sort of a customized feed of stuff that Adam writes and turn that into however they want to use that. So yeah, he's still doing that, but they just decided that book publishing was not their thing anymore. So now it's my thing.
Yeah, very cool. As far as DEVONthink, do you use it to run the business in any capacity? Is that part of it? Any of the workflow there?
Well, I will put it this way. I have a database that's well. I'm pointing. You can't even see my finger that I'm pointing, but see that thing that I'm pointing at on that thing down there off screen. So I have an Alt Concepts database. Alt Concepts is the name of my business, and in this database, I keep all of the documents related to my business: tax documents, local, provincial, federal, anything, all the contracts, thing that I deal with, Amazon and Google and Apple, and anything that has to do with running the business, any official stuff that goes into there. So that's how I keep track of that stuff.
Gotcha.
I do not use DEVONthink in the creation or production of our books.
Gotcha.
And there are that's kind of a long story. The reason we do things the way we do is, long story. But I'm not. So I do use it as part of my business, but it's not something that directly connects to the books we create.
Gotcha. I noticed in the pro version on the Mac, there's expense and audit reporting. Is that that's new to me as far as it being in DEVONthink? Is that something you use at all?
So this feature was originally called with version 4 audit proof databases. And I said to them, that's not really what this is. What they meant to say was, if you work in some, the financial industry or a law firm or some place where every change to a document must be very carefully traceable, it must be able to survive an audit. You have to be able to prove that after you put a thing in here, it didn't change, that sort of thing.
No tampering. Yeah.
Yes, a sort of a tamper-proof database. So in terms of auditing, that's and they gave it a new name, and now I don't even remember the new name. See, I have my book open here because I knew this would happen.
Right.
I'm gonna have to like go look in my book, and what do they call that thing now? Audit. Revision-proof databases. Revision-proof databases. Okay, so there are ways of extracting numbers from files, but it isn't something like, I mean, there have been apps that specialized in like turning receipts into, like QuickBook entries or something like that.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Or into like some kind of financial spreadsheet. And DEVONthink doesn't really do that. I mean, might be able to rig it with AppleScript or something. I don't know.
It's not designed
but
for that.
It's not like you can absolutely scan and store receipts in there, and you can see what the values are and select them and search them. But it's not really designed for financial management.
Gotcha. Now, the jump from 3 to 4, it seems that generative AI is a big part of what's new here. And they've had...
You could say that.
They've had AI in the past, as you said, but a different type of AI. So how does this impact the day-to-day kind of usage of DEVONthink, either on the Mac or on the iPad, which it's there too?
Well, so the let's call it old school AI had no generative features. Okay, this is not a chatbot. This is not like what we now think of as modern machine learning and that kind of thing. It was really like, I don't know. Haven't never looked at the code. I don't know exactly how the algorithms worked, but it was a very sort of simplified form of AI that looked for patterns. And that's really useful. That's helpful. DEVONthink 4, as you say, did add all of the generative stuff. And I remember, I was beta testing it long before anybody in the outside world saw it. And I remember seeing all these terms. Like, I'm just going to open the settings here and go to the AI tab. And so, the release notes of every beta would have like, okay, well, now we're now supporting this provider and this model. Of course, you have to have an API key, and the context window can be between this and this. And there are just like all these different words and terms that I'm like, what's a context window? What's an API key? Like, I knew what an API key was, but like it was sort of like assuming that you, our customer, the user, already are familiar with ChatGPT and Claude and all of the others, assuming that you are already signed up to use those. Well, now you can plug your credentials for as many of those things as you want into DEVONthink, and then use all of those features within this app. For me, I was like,
how do you onboard? How do you onboard someone that's never used this stuff before and make that a good experience?
So that's part of what I had to kind of explain in my book, because like if you are a geek, hey, this is a really fantastic tool. If you're just an ordinary guy and you're not like a super tech nerd and you're looking at this stuff, it's like, okay, well, what? It's not like you can just click a button and say, okay, now I want to integrate ChatGPT into my stuff. It's not like you have to know where to go to this site, sign up, give them payment information, get an API key. Now you have to come back, plug that in, choose, okay, so you're going to use Claude as a model or as a provider. Great. Well, there are, at this moment, there are 4 different Claude models that DEVONthink can use, 3.5 Haiku up through 4.5 Sonnet, et cetera, and different engine models for vision, and so.
And there's also some local models that for those, do those require any kind of extra payment, or are they baked into DEVONthink themselves, or
They require extra pain. You are exactly correct. So you can download Olama
Mhm.
or LM Studio. And each of these lets you, okay, so like LM Studio, it's software that you install on your local computer.
Okay.
You're not going to install this on your iPad.
No,
You're going to install it on your Mac.
but your
and
iPad can
then-
talk to your Mac in some way.
Yeah,
Sort
maybe
of?
we'll get
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah, we'll
maybe
get to
we'll
that,
get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can then download various models from various that are designed for local use.
Mm-hmm.
And there's dozens, hundreds probably to choose from, and each of them have their own features and limitations. But the thing is, okay, so I downloaded, just yesterday, the day before, I downloaded a new model. I wanted to test it out with LM Studio, which of course you can access through DEVONthink or through other things. This is running on my Mac. Now, this particular Mac is an M4 Pro, MacBook Pro with 64 gigabytes of RAM.
So beefy guy.
A fairly substantial, it's not the top of the line Mac Studio with 512 gigabytes, but like it's fairly substantial. So I'm like, okay, let's just try a simple question. Just a simple question.
Mm-hmm.
What is the square root of 2? And it took this local model running on my Mac 39 seconds to produce an answer.
Okay.
So like you absolutely can run local models on your Mac, and they will, keep everything private. Nothing gets sent out to the cloud. That's great. And if you happen to have, let's say, 4 high-end Mac Studios maxed out with RAM
Mm-hmm.
and networked together through Thunderbolt 5, working in tandem, you can probably get some really good results. If you have just an ordinary,
a base
$4,000 or $5,000 computer, it's going to be painful.
You got the on sale M4 Mac Mini for $400 with 16 gigs of RAM, and might struggle
RAM
with that a little bit.
The amount of RAM that you can offer these LLMs is really the key. So anyway, but I'm like, all this is sort of like,
but it can do it. It'll just take some time. That's why you want the API. You want the API keys. You want to use a server.
You do want
approach.
the API keys, and you can choose. What data which providers you use. Like if you're like, well, I don't really trust OpenAI very much, but I kind of trust Anthropic a little bit more, or whatever your thing is, then you can choose where to go and which model to use. And of course, they will vary by price and capabilities and so forth. And the question you kind of led with, that I have now taken 5 minutes to get around to asking, is what can you actually do?
Yeah.
So here you are in DEVONthink, and if you want, you could just open a chat window and have a regular chat with your favorite model. So if like at the most simple level, you could just do that. But you can also say, hey, Claude, hey, ChatGPT, would you look at these 5 selected DEVONthink documents and tell me what they have in common or how they're different? Or would you analyze them in this way or that way? You can use the stuff that's in your DEVONthink database as input for your AI engine of choice. Mm-hmm. And then you can also have AI create stuff. So you might have, you might say, well, take this information from these documents, do this with it, and then make me a thing like this. The thing could be an image. The thing could be a chart. The thing could be a new document. Now, there's a sense in which kind of whatever you can think of, whatever you would normally do with an LLM, you can do that in DEVONthink, while also using the other stuff in your database as much or as little as you want to expose to it. That's up to you, as input and output. Equally, though, if you don't dig the whole AI thing, and believe me, I am completely sympathetic to anyone who is just like na 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 na, because I'm almost there. I'm almost at that level. It is equally easy to just simply ignore it. You don't have to involve AI in your DEVONthink work at all if you don't want to. You just leave all the things blank, and then it won't communicate with any provider, and you just keep on doing your normal thing.
Gotcha. And if you're like a true AI power user and you have API keys for like all of them, can you have them work in tandem in any ways, or is it one at a time kind of usage?
It's one at a time.
Okay.
And who knows what they have planned for the future. But you can go through and like, okay, here's my Chat GPT key, here's my Gemini key, here's my Mistral key, here's my Perplexity key. Like, go through all of them, set it all up, and then for any given task or any given query, any chat, you can say, well, I want to ask this AI about that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to specifically ask, Chat GPT 5. I want to ask Chat GPT 4.1 nano, whatever. That's totally fine. And you can. I've never actually tried to run more than one of these in at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It might be possible. I'm not even sure. I should try that. But I don't. I am not aware of any way that they can directly interact with each other, or that you can ask the same thing of many of them at once.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, though, DEVONthink is one of the most fabulously Apple scriptable apps in existence. So
on the Mac,
of course, yes. And so if you have the AppleScript chops, well, I was going to say, if you have the AppleScript chops, maybe you could find some way of feeding, one AI's output into another or something. But in fact, as it turns out, one of the AI features in DEVONthink 4 is this. Hey, write me a DEVONthink AppleScript that does X. So they literally have an AI-based AppleScript generator that's kind of like its own separate standalone module, because DEVONthink has like its own little built-in version of script editor.
Yeah.
And you can just say, you can describe to it the script that you want, and it'll say, well, give this a try. And give it a try. And you're like, well, yeah, I got to make a little tweak here and there. And you're not going to really, vibe coding and AppleScript are not really.
Yeah, but this is baked into the Mac version with no external API keys or anything needed for that.
Yeah, and one of the things that has happened over time is that the mobile, the iPad and iPhone version of DEVONthink, which is called DEVONthink to Go, has gotten much better, and it has gotten most of the features that formerly were only in the Mac version.
Yeah.
So, there are definitely a few things that it can't do that the Mac version can do, but every time I revise the book, I'm like, oh, that list is shorter now.
Yeah. What are some of the big things that, like, from 3 to 4, was there a big jump in, like, oh, the iPad is actually this more capable in these ways?
Yeah. So, and again, I have to go back and consult my list, because there is just way too much for me to keep in my head at one time. So let me go back to my book and see. All right. So obviously, everything that we've said about AI is equally true of the mobile version. So you can plug in all of your same API keys and do all that same stuff. As we said earlier, AppleScript is not an iPad thing, but dang. So I should have prepared by looking up the answer to that specific question, because that was a logical question for you to ask.
Sure. Yeah.
But what I did in my book, I didn't do it that way. I said, I have look at all these things. There's a whole list of things you can do on your iPad or iPhone in DEVONthink. and then here's a shorter list of things that you can't do.
Right.
And so that the things moved from the can't do list to the can do list.
Yeah.
But I didn't mark them as, oh, here are specifically the new version 4 features.
So what is still Mac only, I guess, is
okay. So an example, if sorry, I have a little noisemaker that I need to. There you go.
Yep.
So if you have like we talk about documents, whether they're like a text file or an image or a PDF or whatever, being in DEVONthink. So yeah, I mean, you can drag something in the Finder, you can suck it in from Safari or whatever. There's all kinds of ways, but we think of documents as living in this database, and they kind of do, but they don't have to. So instead of actually making a copy of a thing or putting the only copy of a thing inside your DEVONthink database, on a Mac, you can say, okay, take this folder or this file or this volume and just index everything on it. So all those things will appear in DEVONthink, and you can still do all the stuff with them that you would do with the native built-in documents, which is to say you can apply all kinds of tags and metadata and searching and use the AI stuff. You can do all that stuff, but the actual documents themselves are out on your disk someplace. So they're not taking up lots of space in your database, and you're not wasting any space with extra copies of these files, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's something you can't do on an iPad. You can't say, hey, go to the Files app, and just take everything from my iCloud Drive folder and index that or whatever, like that's not a concept in DEVONthink to go. Which because iPads and iPhones don't have the same level of user accessibility for their file systems as a Mac does.
And I wonder if Apple will ever add an API key to mimic that in any way. I'm guessing probably.
I don't know. I mean, we have the Files app, but it's not like you can just say. I mean, everything's sandbox, right? So DEVONthink has to live in its own sandbox, and so there's no way to do that.
In the Files app, you're able to browse your DEVONthink kind of database within Files on the iPad. I believe, is that right? Everything's kind of sort of.
I mean,
yeah.
So let me just open the Files app here, so I'm sure I'm telling you the truth. So if you, content unavailable. Try again.
That sounds like the Files app, where it's still buggy after a decade of them introducing that app. Yeah.
Okay. I can't give you a great answer.
In theory, you can access.
Ask me tomorrow, and I will. Here, I'm just going to check on my phone and see if it tells me something more helpful.
Yeah, that is the problem with the Files app. Like, I love the Files app, but the reliability is still just like infuriating at times.
So right. So yes, you can go to the Files app, go to DEVONthink, and say, okay, I want to look inside this database or that database, and let's say, okay, well, I want to go look in my global inbox. All right, well, my real global inbox has, let's see here, I got to go to the right app, has 121 items in it. But in the Files app, it shows me 1.
Okay.
So, I mean, like there's a connection there, and there are probably ways that you can get at more of your data. But what I'm seeing is not a complete representation of the contents of DEVONthink in my Files app.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah.
Another thing is, there are all kinds of things you can do with PDFs. You can, annotate them, rearrange pages, stuff like that. On a Mac, you can split and merge documents. Can't do that on an iPad. The Mac version of DEVONthink has a wonderful concordance feature. which is to say, give it one or more documents, and it will create a list of all of the words ranked by like order of frequency. And you can say, okay, oh wow, there's 12 instances of chocolate in this document. Let's go see where they are. And that is not, at least not yet, a thing in DEVONthink to go.
Is it available for a single document or not at all?
To the best of my awareness, it is not available at all.
Okay.
The thing is, every time I make a statement about DEVONthink, they add a feature and then they turn me into a liar.
Yes.
So it's entirely possible that hey, they changed something and I missed it. But to the best of my awareness at this moment, you can't do that for even a single document.
The other thing, the Mac version, being a Mac, deals with multiple windows very gracefully. The iPad is getting better with multiple windows, but I'm not sure how far DEVONthink's extending towards like having like 20 DEVONthink windows open and that being a thing you do in there.
It is a pretty good iPad citizen. So you absolutely can open things in new windows if you just like, touch and hold a document and the little pop-up menu says open a new window. Now you've created a new one. Now, so you can absolutely have a bunch of different windows open on your iPad. How many? I've never tried to stress test it, but the thing is, your iPad screen, even if you have a 13-inch iPad like mine, it's pretty small. Do you really want to have 10 different document windows open? So like you can, and I suppose if you're using it with an external display,
right,
that would be okay. But I would say DEVONthink is as well behaved in regards to all the modern iPad features as any app that I've seen. But you still, I mean, you are still brushing up against hardware limitations at some point.
Yeah. Now, how is the smart glass implementation? I mean, some apps do it really well. Some apps struggle, and I know DEVONthink. Like I remember the DEVONthink 2, and I remember its kind of evolution of interface over time, and I'm just curious where this has landed for you with this latest iteration.
I'm sorry, I think I think I missed a word someplace.
Yeah. I'm just curious, the smart glass implementation. How are you feeling about
smart glass?
Or what's Apple call it? Liquid.
Glass.
Sorry.
Okay. So
why did I think Apple was calling it smart glass? That's a Microsoft thing. I think.
If I have missed out on an Apple geekish term, then I'm really going to lose some credibility. So because I was thinking, is this a Vision Pro thing? No, okay. So
I'm totally mixing something from Microsoft and Apple. I think they had a smart glass thing. Yeah.
So on an iPad, it fully adopts the sort of liquid glass look and feel. So for example, you have all these controls at the top, like navigational controls and things, and they're like translucent, they float over the whatever. So just as you would expect. I, of course, have like reduced translucency turned on, so I don't see it as much because like I need to be able to get my work done. I have to be able to see things, not just see a bunch of jumbled, whatever.
Yes.
Now on my Mac, I also have reduced transparency, whatever they call it, reduced translucency, whatever they call it. I have that turned on, but weirdly, I mean, and I'm not saying this is not a criticism. I don't mind this, but on my Mac, they have only kind of given lip service to the liquid glass interface. For example, the corners of the windows have very, very tight radii. They are not these, the big rounded corners that you have in liquid glass apps. And things like, all of the like tab controls and all the toolbars, like they're still pretty much the way they were before. So like, you get the proper icon and things. But I consider this a virtue, actually.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just look. I'm not a super fan of liquid glass, and especially when you have an app like DEVONthink that is so information dense. You have so much stuff to fill in here.
Mm-hmm.
All these little, like at the bottom of the sidebar, you have all these tiny little icons, and they would have no place to go if the corners were as rounded as Apple wants them to be. And so you need, just like, because it's dealing with so much information and it's mostly, like, textual information,
Yeah.
you really want to go out to the edges. And so, which is, maybe they'll change in the future, but as of right now, it looks just like apps looked a year ago, and I'm really okay with that.
Yeah. Now, custom metadata is another kind of tentpole feature of DEVONthink 4. What creative ways have you come up with for using this? Because, like, I hear stuff like this, and I'm not a huge tagging guy. I'm not a huge, like, it seems like you could do a lot with this if you're creative about what you can,
Sure.
Yeah.
So, DEVONthink supports many, many, many different kinds of metadata. I never noticed whether to say metadata or metadata, so I probably use them interchangeably. And what you can do now is just say, well, okay, look, I've got books. I've got a lot of, I make ebooks for a living.
Yes.
So every book should have, like, the author's name, the ISBN, what language the book is written in, the name of the publisher. There's, like, all this stuff that we put as meta in the version number, of course. All this stuff that we put as metadata in our PDFs when we distribute them. And so I can add any or all of that kind of stuff to my documents in DEVONthink as well. So an ordinary person doing ordinary things with ordinary PDFs probably doesn't need to have an ISBN. Like, that's
right.
That's a book thing, right? You don't need it for your grocery list or what have you. But so it's kind of domain dependent. So if you're like, well, my thing is recipes. I'm a big cook, and so I need to have food related metadata. I need to know what category, like, is this a dessert? Is this an appetizer? Is this, like, what kind of a thing? Is it sweet? Is it savory? Maybe I have different ingredients that show up as metadata. You can just, like, throw stuff in as name tags too. You can always do that. But you might want to have, for whatever your domain is cooking or gardening or some kind of academic research, whatever it may be. You may have something that you're like, well, this is the kind of thing I need to keep track of for a lot of documents. So now you just add it, and it's there, and you can type in a thing or use a pop-up menu or what have you to add your own kind of metadata.
Nice. As far as future updates, they have adopted, but Agenda was one of the first apps that I remember that did this, where you pay for a license and you get a year of updates, and after a year you still get to use that app up to that latest update. But if you want future updates, then you have to re-up it, kind of thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Do you think 4 will be around a while, and it's, they're just going to continue to add the 4? Is that kind of the impression that you get? Like, 4 is going to, 4 could last a long time, but the 4 of today will be much different from the 4 in 3 or 4 years from now.
Right. So they are. So just to back up a bit, they do have 3 levels of licensing, and you kind of alluded to this earlier. They have a standard that's $99 and a pro that's $199 and a server version that's $499. So depending on which set of features you may need, you might do one level or another. And as you say, these give you updates for a year, but it doesn't stop working. Then you can keep using it, but just you're not getting the updates, and you want to go back to having updates. Well, then you decide to pay for another year of support.
I will say
so
it's very funny me logging into my DEVONthink account. I can go in and find the serial number and download links to DEVONthink 2 and all these older apps, and you can still get them, and they'll still run on an old Mac if you still have one up and running. Yeah.
Right. And now there are upgrade prices if you were previously using DEVONthink 3. But you bring up an interesting question, which is what is going to happen, because it was like, I forget, 5-6 years ago that we had DEVONthink 3. So they usually have quite a long time between their major upgrades, but they're still on an almost weekly basis, or certainly monthly basis, they're adding features, they're fixing bugs. It's constantly under development. So it could be that they're like, okay, well, DEVONthink 4 is getting pretty stable now. We had to start the initial planning phases for DEVONthink 5 that will come out in 2031 or something. I have no idea. I haven't discussed this with them. I have no idea.
Right. Yeah.
But the question is, when we get to that point, what will happen in terms of pricing? I would predict or guess or assume that if you've been paying your $99 a year to maintain updates, then when they decide, hey, it's time to flip over the 4 to a 5, then nothing will change. You will continue to get those updates without having to pay some extra fee on top of that. So I think that's going to it's really going to change the equation. It's not like, well, I bought this thing 5 years ago and I got, 5 good solid years of use out of it. So now, hey, look, they have 10 new features that I really like. So now I'm going to buy the upgrade for $50 or whatever it turns out to be, and get another 5 years out of that. I think they are probably, my educated guess would be that they're going to just keep on, thinking up new features, and some of them will be more minor and some of them will be more major, and they'll update the number whenever they feel like it. But I would imagine that this as with most apps these days, not all of them, but anything that is subscription-ish, they're probably going to say you've paid it, you're continuing to pay us for it, so you're going to get the latest thing no matter what.
Now, one thing I was a little unclear on is so DEVONthink Pro, you get access to the mobile version, the to-go app for the iPad and iPhone.
Right. Okay.
But and when your year is up and you need to re-up to get more updates, does the mobile app cease to work until you do that, or is the mobile app just good because you were a pro user? That I was not quite sure on, actually. I'm not sure.
That's a great question, and I'm going to now go to their page that hopefully talks about.
This has been a tangent, as you're not like the business person of DEVONthink, but I was just curious if you.
Yeah.
You had
No.
That. Yeah.
So, is there? I think, and I
just
and I
said,
would have to,
because it says
I would have to actually
$0.
check with them to make
it says
sure,
with
but
Mac
I think
license.
what would happen is that if your paid support for the desktop version of DEVONthink expired, your mobile app would probably keep working, but not all the features would work. I think that probably, for example, syncing would not work. And so my guess is that if you wanted to keep using the mobile app after not paying any longer for the desktop app, you would probably have to say, go for the like $2.99 a month or $20 a year license for just the mobile version.
Gotcha.
I suspect that is the case, but I don't actually know for sure, because it's just it's just a circumstance that I hadn't thought of.
No, yeah, and then I guess so. It's on the Pro. It's so it does have extension prices. So $99 for extension. Yep. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, that is one thing I'm actually curious about. in the Mac version, as I remember back in the days, their scanning interface being particularly wonderful. Is that still a thing where you can, on the Mac at least, hook up a scanner and there's like a built-in scanning interface that hooks up?
Yeah, it is really cool. And now that you mention it, that is a fairly big thing that you can't get in the iPad version. Like, of course, you can capture documents in various ways with your iPad, but what you can't do is connect directly to a scanner, like a document scanner, and have that stuff pop up directly in DEVONthink to go. However, on a Mac, what happens, like, again, you have lots of choices for how you configure this. I've got a ScanSnap scanner here, but they work with, a bunch of different brands. So the way I have it configured right now, I basically have the ScanSnap software set to just send all my scans directly to DEVONthink. No, don't put them in a folder, just like send that data directly to DEVONthink. And so it does that. When DEVONthink grabs it, I have it configured to do the OCR, of course. And so what will happen is a window will pop up, giving me a thumbnail of the document that it just scanned. And right there, I can fill in a name. I can fill in certain pieces of metadata. If I wanted to, I could just say, no, I don't want to be interrupted. Just stick it in there, and I'll do all that stuff later, which really would mean it would never happen. So it's, and if you have like a flatbed scanner, you can also connect to that and get exactly what we would see with image capture. So with Apple's image capture app, instead of going to a standalone app and then making a standalone file that you import into DEVONthink, you could do all that directly from within the app. So it's, it's not super fancy, but it's nice enough.
Yeah. I would really love if Apple added driver kit a while back. If like DEVONthink or someone could partner with some scanning company to offer like native scanners on iPad, because I think it's technically possible now with driver kit. That also applies for, I'd love to be able to rip music CDs onto the iPad with some kind of driver kit integration. I think that'd be a fun Kickstarter. But anyways,
yeah, I'm trying to think, like, my scanner will communicate over Wi-Fi, like it can either USB or Wi-Fi. And in fact, that's how I have it set up, because my scanner is way over there and my Macs are way over here. So it communicates via Wi-Fi, but I have to use Ricoh's ScanSnap software to configure what happens. So it's not merely that my iPad would have to like be able to talk to the scanner, but it would have to know what to do with that data. And so I think that would probably require each manufacturer to put in the extra effort to do something else to have that configurability, would be my guess. So I'm not going to really hold my breath. But then again, like for me, I have occasionally scanned things. Like I had a little, like, really tiny portable scanner that I would take on the road. But normally for me, scanning is a thing that happens in my office. So since there's going to be a Mac there anyway, that's where I'm most likely to dump the scan thing. So I would imagine that would be a kind of low priority thing for them.
Yeah, gotcha. Now, one thing I remember having difficulties with DEVONthink 3 is using my Synology as the storage place of a DEVONthink database. Has that changed at all? That's still problematic.
No.
Okay.
That's that you just don't.
Don't do that. Okay.
I've got a Synology NAS. Also, it's right over there.
Yep.
And it's not just that. You don't want to use another Mac. You don't want to use even, you could use an external hard drive, but you really shouldn't. The whole architecture of DEVONthink presumes that you have a local copy on this particular device of all your data. Now, syncing, fantastic. They offer lots of different ways to sync data amongst your devices. You can sync them directly over Wi-Fi. You can sync them via iCloud. You can sync them via the old-fashioned form of iCloud. You can sync them via Dropbox or whatever. If you have some cloud provider, whatever, you can use that to sync indirectly, or you can sync directly over Wi-Fi. But that's syncing. That's not storing the originals on some other server. That the whole architecture of DEVONthink just is not set up for that. And I think they have support articles about this that amount to madness lies this way.
Yes, I've tried and failed every time, and the problem is just I want to have huge DEVONthink databases, and iCloud gets very full, and devices get full, and
I mean, Apple will be very happy to take more of your money if you can.
I am on this.
Apple.
I am on the 6 terabyte plan currently from
Yeah, so
iCloud.
you can do 12.
You
can go up to
yes.
12. So yeah, but that's so either that or switch to a different syncing method. So
yeah, the Mac thing's interesting. Like if you're a Mac user as well, storing stuff on the Mac with external hard drives and having the Mac sync to the iPad that's a really interesting solution.
Yeah. So what is seems kind of anachronistic nowadays, but even the iPad, even the iPhone version of DEVONthink, all the versions of DEVONthink have a built-in Wi-Fi server. So a sync server essentially. So you can say, well, this particular Mac is going to be my sync server, and I'm going to connect my iPad to that Mac and my iPhone to that Mac, my other Mac to this Mac, and they're all going to sync locally over my Wi-Fi network. You can do that. It's not as simple and hands-off and bulletproof as cloud syncing.
Yeah,
but it can absolutely be done.
Because it's when you're at home, it's not going to do it just as you're updating it on the road and whatnot.
That's right.
Yeah. Let's see. Like, what are anything we haven't touched on for DEVONthink that are things that you absolutely love about it, and things we just didn't touch on yet?
There's so much. So you mentioned earlier that you're not much of a tagging person.
No. Yeah.
And I'm not either. Interestingly, last year I wrote 2 books about software that two different apps that do a lot with tagging. DEVONthink was one of them, and MailMaven was the other. And they're very, very similar in their approach to metadata. And I have, they of course go way, way, way beyond simple tags like you would use in the Finder. You can use those, but that's not by any means the only way of tagging stuff. But I realized way back when that there are 2 fundamental mindsets. There are groupers and there are taggers. So DEVONthink uses the term group for what the rest of us call folders. So when you see a picture of a folder in DEVONthink, they call it a group. I don't know why, it's a folder. But I have a 1-page sidebar earlier in my book that's like, are you a grouper or a tagger? If you're a fish, you're more likely a grouper. I don't actually say that, but I could.
Yeah.
So you can do both. If you really like all kinds of folders and you want a hierarchical organization and you just want a thing to be in one place, hey, great. If you want to have replicants of stuff, which is basically like aliases, they're copies that don't take up any extra space, or duplicates or whatever, and you want to assign tags so that you can always see the document you want in many different environments, you can do that as well. I decided for myself that my temperament is just I'm a grouper, not a tagger. Having said that, there are definitely some metadata features in DEVONthink that are quite nice, quite tempting, just as there are in MailMaven. Things that you might be able to supplement. Let's say even if you're like, I always just file stuff in folders and that's where they are. you might be tempted to kind of supplement that with a little bit of tagging, because like I have at this moment, let's see here, like 8,000 plus PDFs in DEVONthink, plus many more other kinds of documents in this particular database that I'm looking at right now. And so I do use the sorting and the automatic filing and stuff, but there are still things that conceptually go in multiple categories. So, like I'm at a loss for a great like off the cuff example, but I think of thinking of financial documents. Well, this is kind of a business document, but it's also sort of a tax document, but it's also sort of a something else. And so, which folder do I put it in? Because it kind of really goes all those different places. And so you could pick a place and then use tags of whichever sort, custom metadata or built-in tags of some sort, to find that thing in some other place.
Now, this might be a bit off, but I remember back in the early 2000s, putting a Pages document inside DEVONthink was not that useful because it was a zip file.
Yeah.
Has that changed, or is it still kind of like you want it as a Word file?
Well, what I'm going to do right now, since you're asking, is I'm going to go put a Pages document in DEVONthink and see what happens. So let's do this. Let's drag this in here. So I just dragged a random Pages document into DEVONthink, and it looks exactly the way it does in Pages.
Okay, yeah.
So
I remember back in the old days, it was like, here's a zip file that's now in your DEVONthink database.
Yeah, no, it's not like that anymore. So I see all the formatting. I have this particular document happened to be a big table, and so all the formatting, the table, and the colored, cells and so forth, that's all in there. Now, of course, you can't edit a Pages document from within DEVONthink.
You can't edit Word either, can you? Right, it would open externally.
I don't
for that too?
think so. You can edit RTF files.
Right. You can open the Pages document, but it'll open in Pages. Then you would save it, and then it would save back in the
right.
DEVONthink.
So I can actually say I can right click on this and say open with Pages, and then any edits that I did to this document in Pages would be reflected back in DEVONthink. But DEVONthink is great for editing plain text, rich text, markdown. You can write HTML in it.
Yep.
You can you could write other kinds of code in it, but honestly, there are better tools for those kinds of things. There are tools that are, what I like to say about DEVONthink is that if I were stuck on a desert island and I could only have one app, it would be a good Swiss Army knife. It would be a good thing to be as multi-purpose as I could probably get.
Yeah, it can be your RSS reader, I believe, still, right?
Yes, it can. It can be an RSS reader. You can view web pages in it. It's not a great browser, but you can do it. You can send email, sort of. It's not a great way to do it, but you can do it. And it's one of those things where okay, I have a Swiss Army knife in my pocket, and it's got a screwdriver in it. And if I'm not near my tools and I need to unscrew something, it's fine. If I'm going to mend a fence or work on my car or something, no, I'm going to get out the real tools. But it's 100% better than nothing. So it's really, really great at the organizational things. Searching, holy cow, searching is amazing. And it has smart rules and smart groups and all the smart things. In terms of document creation, it's competent. But if you prefer to use Pages or Word or Nicest Writer or whatever the thing is, you're going to do that. It has tables that superficially look kind of like they're called sheets, and they superficially look like spreadsheets if you squint, but they don't do calculations. So yeah, you're going to use something else for your spreadsheets, but it is a really great, if I just need to do a quick thing with this thing, yeah, it's right there. So that's a really nice thing to do.
I guess my final question is have you been, I guess, brave enough, or you don't have to be brave, back up your database and throw the AI at organizing your entire database, tell it group every file and tag every document and just go wild with my database, see what it does. Have you tried that?
You can't quite do that.
Okay, I wasn't sure how far that could go.
If you are talking about the old school AI that's been in DEVONthink for a long time, the sort of like put this in the right folder kind of AI. That feature depends on you having some kind of folder, list of folders or a hierarchy of folders that already have example documents in them that you have put there manually that it can base its determinations on.
So ChatGPT cannot. That's not a new ability with ChatGPT one of those.
Right. So with the generative stuff, it can look at documents, it can create documents, it can retrieve information from documents, answer questions about documents, but I don't believe it can actually say, well, I'm going to look at 1,000 PDFs and magically determine what a good organizational structure for these would be, and then put them in that. And again, I don't want to say that somebody couldn't engineer some way to accomplish that with an Apple script or something, tying into these engines, but I wouldn't really trust it to make the kinds of decisions that I would make.
Yeah.
Anytime I ask, an AI engine to categorize things or analyze things or give me a summary or a group or whatever, like it'll do it, but I'm like, okay, but like, I get that, I get why you did that, but that's not how I would do it, that's not how I think.
Yeah.
So I think let's talk again in 5 years.
Yeah. No, it's something that I would definitely do on a backup database if it could even do it, just to see what do you do with this. Yeah. Yeah,
it's worth a try.
Yeah, no, just curious. Yeah. Well, anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, whenever I get into a discussion about DEVONthink, it's always like, well, we'll just do a quick overview, and like an hour later, we've covered 5%. We've glossed over 5% of the things this app can do. It's super powerful, and like, I know that people are really, really down on anything that smacks of subscription. And this isn't quite that, but still it's a little bit subscription-ish. And I know that paying $100, $200 for software seems like a drag these days, but you really do get what you pay for. It is so powerful. And I gotta say, if an iPad is your main computing device and you only have to pay $20 a year.
Yeah.
Holy cow. This is a steal. You're getting like 92, 93% of the power of the Mac version that would cost, $100 to $200 for $20. It's an amazing deal if you are iPad focused. So I'll just throw that out.
Yeah. And I will say, if you do have a Mac as well lying around, one of my favorite things was DEVONthink rescuing my Evernote account and putting it into DEVONthink, because otherwise they figured it out. They figured out how to export all the data and make sense of it in a somewhat coherent way, which no one else could because of Evernote's fun file format.
Yeah.
So that is one of the nice things in the Mac. Just do it the one time, but I do have an Evernote DEVONthink database now, which is a nice trip down memory lane to be able to open up. But anyways, thank you so much, Joe, for your time tonight.
Oh, sure. It's been my pleasure.
So if you'd like to check out more of what we've been talking about, takecontrolbooks.com/DEVONthink-4 is the book.
And the book, by the way, is free.
Which
of course,
is, yep.
while you're there, while you're on the site, we wouldn't mind if you also bought 3 or 4 or 50 other books. That's fine.
Yes.
You're welcome to buy most of our books, but this particular one is free because Devon Technologies sponsored it, and we are very grateful for that. It's a long book. It's 301 pages, and even there, it doesn't it doesn't tell you absolutely everything because it's just one of these endless apps. So yeah, come get the free book and buy some other stuff while you're there.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a cool thing that you guys actually partnered with the developers to make that happen. It's smart of them because, like, yeah, you're gonna, you'll download DEVONthink and do whatever the free trial, and then get hooked on it through going through.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, like, I didn't want to even do the free trial before I read the book, and then once I looked at the book, I'm like, oh, now I get it. It can do this. So yeah, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you, Joe. Really appreciate your time tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's my conversation with Joe all about DEVONthink 4. My thanks to Joe for his time recording. My thanks to you for your time and attention tuning in. As a reminder, you can download and read the Take Control of DEVONthink 4 book for free over at takecontrolbooks.com/DEVONthink-4, and check out DEVONthink to Go 4, which is out now for iPad and iPhone. As a reminder, you can support this podcast over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. With that, I'll talk with everyone again real soon.